Hello, nerds for Yang.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds.
Now with this campaign, bang, dang, it's and Drew, come roll with the Yang Gang.
Hello, nerds. It's been a long time, my friends. I've been traveling, and I've been super busy. And I also did an interview with old Andrew M.F. Yang a couple days ago. So that was super exciting. I need to edit it, and then I need to make sure the campaign's okay with it. And then hopefully we'll be able to publish it on Monday. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm traveling using some same equipment basically, but I don't know if I set it up right. So let me know if you can hear me in the comments. Oh, Fred the Felon in the house, dude. Fred the Felon is so active in the Yang Gang, and he still has time to consume other people's content, which I find freaking amazing because I myself have enough trouble. Hey, Shauna, I have enough trouble creating content that I often don't have time to watch as much other people's content as I like to. You must drink turbo coffee. Is that a question or a suggestion? All right, let's look at the numbers. You guys did not come here just to chit chat. No, sir. Oh, aloha, nerds. What's that all about? That's like a little localized nerd hello. All right, here we go. You guys ready to look at some numbers? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do, I don't know why I keep scratching my head. We're going to do polls. When I'm about to look at charts, I get really excited. We're going to do polls. I have some new data from 538 that was super cool. And then we're going to look at Twitter, betting odds, and of course, search, YouTube. And I actually got my hands on some additional charts, some brand new charts that break down media mentions by day, by source. Like, oh my God, so awesome. Okay, so let's just start. And I'm only working with one computer this time, so I won't be able to see the chats very well while I'm screen sharing, but I will do my best because I have my phone here, so I can try to look at some. This is the Pixel 3, which if you are in the market for a phone, I will have to recommend. Of course, the Pixel 4 is even better. Here we go. Let's look at the polls. Let's get the bad news out of the way. So for national polls, and I'll try and make this bigger for you guys. Let's make it bigger still. All right. Hopefully you can see that. So basically, the last poll was finished October 21st. And you'll notice all of these polls that you can see on my screen now were completed after the last debate. So any benefit we got from what I think we all believe was a very strong debate performance by Yang should be reflected in these numbers. And as you can see from this column here, the numbers are kind of, shall I say, weak. I mean, this is end of October, folks. We just had three debate appearances, and freaking Quinnipiac, we're at 1%. I know a lot of you guys are very skeptical of polls, but I'll tell you this much. Even if polls were biased against us because maybe they have too much of an emphasis on landlines, okay, maybe they're calling older people, fine. it's a factor of 20, the difference between Yang and Biden, Warren and Sanders. For Warren, it's a factor of 28, 1 to 28. So, I mean, I think we just got to keep it real and acknowledge that even if the polls are off, they're probably not off by a factor of 30. So, you know, maybe you could say, well, instead of 1, we're really 10. Well, guess what? Warren's 28, according to these polls. You know, Quinnipiac. CNN, it's flipped. She's 19 and Biden's 34. But whether it's Biden or Warren, Yang goes from 1 to 2. So not too much of a difference there. So is it time to panic? No, it's not time to panic, but it's time to put on our freaking shoulder pads and dig deeper. And specifically, you'll see it when we look over at the media analysis. I believe it's time to start spending some serious money because you don't want to peak too early, but you know what? You also don't want to peak too late. Now, that was national. Let's see if there's any recent Iowa polls. In Iowa, yeah, we've got some polls that came after the debate. These ended on October 22nd and October 18th. So these last 2 polls were after the debates. And you would think the Iowa folks would be watching those debates, but we're showing 2 and 1. Now, statewide polls tend to be a little noisier. But again, like, okay, well, let's say it's off by a factor of 3. So Yang goes from 2 to 6. You know, you still got Warren at 28 and Biden at 12. In the USA Today, Warren at 17, Biden at 18. Now, the good news is these 2 polls between Iowa State University and Suffolk, they really shouldn't be that different, which goes to show how much noise there is. But again, okay, yeah, maybe, you know, from 17 to 28, that's a lot of noise. From 12 to 18, that's a lot of noise. But it's not like it went from 20 to 1 or from 18 to 3. You know what I'm saying? Like these 2, Warren and Biden, are clearly in kind of upper teens range. And wow, Buttigieg is also pretty strong. Wow, Buttigieg appears to be ahead of Sanders in Iowa, according to both of the most recent polls. So yeah, there's Iowa. Now let's look at New Hampshire. New Hampshire, we don't have recent data because remember the debate was the 15th. The last date of this poll here for the Boston Herald was 10/13. So we're going to skip over to Nevada. Do we have any recent stuff from Nevada? Nope, that's September. South Carolina. South Carolina, we have a poll that was fielded by Monmouth from October 16th to October 21st. So definitely right after the debate. We're at 2. It's in in South Carolina. So old Dr. Johnson's got his work ahead of him. And then let's look at California. Oh, we have a post-debate poll here. 2 of them, October 15th to 18th. The debate was the night of the 15th, so it may not reflect, but we're at 3 and 4. You know, guys, let's be real here about these polls. Hold on, let me stop sharing. Let's be real for a second about these freaking polls. Polls need to change. I'm not saying it needs to change overnight, but I am saying that we cannot be bumping around 2 and 3 forever, right? Now, luckily, we did raise 10 million, and I trust Andrew. In my interview with him this week, now this is the second time I've spoken to him. The dude comes across super smart, and he definitely comes across as someone that if he were the CEO of a company, like you'd be very comfortable with him at the helm. And so I know he's no dummy. But as a little sneak peek, he and I did discuss the polls. And he agrees that those numbers need to change and that we need to make some sort of big moves. And so hopefully we'll see more of those in the near future. So that's it for the polls. Now we're going to look at, yeah, let's do it. All right. Well, actually, let me ask you guys. Do you want to look at social media like Twitter? Do you want to look at betting odds? Do you want to look at Google search? Or do you want to look at some more, actually more advanced data from 538? Frankly, I'm going to do all of them. So I'm just asking, what do you want to do next? So whoever puts in the comments something that you are interested in seeing next, okay, let's see. Looks like Google search and then betting. Okay, we'll do Google. Share. Boom. Share. Where is it? Okay, here we go. You guys always know to pick, we have quite a strong advantage on the interweb. So here is last 7 days, national searches for Yang, Buttigieg, Beto. I guess we could have Beto there. Why do we even have Beto? I'm going to have to remove him. Probably who would be more relevant than Beto? Maybe Booker? I don't know. Cory Booker. Okay. All right, so let's see who we are doing with these searches. Okay. We are the blue. Blue was quite strong right after the debates. And then what is this massive jump for Buttigieg on October 21st? Looks like Buttigieg had some talk about Warren Hurst. Let's see. And let's say Warren Hurst Buttigieg. Oh, yep, that's pretty gross. So some Tennessee official did a homophobic rant. So people were searching for that. And then after that news subsided, he still picked up. Like, look, Buttigieg was still number one as of October 24th, which is today. So if I go back the last day and I see, like, what is giving Buttigieg all this action? Justice Kennedy. Oh, what did he do there? Oh, Bernie Sanders hits Buttigieg for suggesting. Let's go. Wow, going to Fox News. Brace yourselves. Supreme nominees should be like Justice Kennedy. Okay. So he's talking about the Supreme Court causing a little bit of a stir. I don't see why that's that controversial. I guess maybe Kennedy is kind of centrist. People were thinking more of they want an RBG. I could see that. I'd be fine with Kennedy, but I'm probably a bit of a centrist and moderate myself. All right. So let's get back to, so Buttigieg is doing well on web search, and then we would be number 2. And then Harris and Booker, just like not even relevant. Let's add Warren here. Let's add the big girl, Elizabeth Warren. She's really the front runner, if you ask me. Not that different. She had a big surge herself on October 24th. What were people searching for Ms. Warren about? Where are you? There you are. Chicago rally? Okay, what's the big deal about a Chicago rally? Oh, teacher strike. Okay. That's interesting. All right, so that's web search. Let's look at YouTube since we're here, right? Let's look at YouTube. I'm guessing we are crushing. We usually are. Yeah, we continue. We the blue. You want to be the blue. Although credit to Buttigieg was starting to surge. I wonder if we have, no, we don't have the, oh yeah, we do have the queries for Pete Buttigieg, Tennessee. Scarlett Johansson. Oh no. Is she supporting Buttigieg? Goodness. No, Scarlett, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, what? How did she get, how did Jimmy Fallon, man? Come on, you should have had Yang on there. I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch this episode, but I gotta believe that that Buttigieg is not that interesting. Although, I guess Scarlett probably had some viewers. All right. I think that's good. I think we kind of knew we were going to crush it for YouTube. We always do. For web search, let's look at web search, but for Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina. Okay, web search. Let's go to Iowa. Let's go where it's going to happen. Nerds. Freaking nerds. All right, here we go. Okay, now, yeah, see, Iowa. This shows their strength, these guys. Basically, you've got Buttigieg and Warren very strong in Iowa. Let's remove Booker because he's always this sort of anemic green line. That's the definition of irrelevant, if you ask me. So we're going to drop Booker and we're going to add, let's add Bernie. You know, I'm not a Bernie supporter. I was last time around, and I still like him. And I got to respect that dude. When I'm his age, if I'm that, like, fired up, man, that's amazing. Okay, yeah. So, look, the last 7 days, you've got the leader is Buttigieg and Warren tied, but then Bernie, strong follower. You know, Yang's ahead of Harris a little bit, but, you know, it's Iowa's definitely a looks like Buttigieg Warren. Wow, how crazy would it be if Buttigieg freaking won Iowa? That would be sick. That would be great for the Mayor Pete fans. Let's look at New Hampshire. New Hampshire. Oh, by the way, if you guys could like this video while you're enjoying these charts with me. Nerds for Yang would appreciate that. Whoa, what's going on here in New Hampshire? What is this? Hold on. Why isn't my... Look at this. What's going on here? Wow, Buttigieg, very strong in New Hampshire. Ah, Buttigieg. I wonder if you're benefiting from that freaking Scarlet thing. Was the Scarlet thing today? When was it? No, it was a day ago. A few days ago, actually. So we can't say it's just because of Scarlet. But yeah, if you look at New Hampshire, last 7 days, Buttigieg, Warren, Sanders, those three, man. It's the freaking 3 horse people. Yang is definitely 4th, way ahead of Harris. Harris is really, really weak. Remember when Harris was a strong one? Not anymore. What about South Carolina? South Carolina. Ooh, much closer in South Carolina. If you look at this bar chart here, you got Sanders leading the way in web searches in South Carolina. Warren next, then Buttigieg, and then Harris and Yang. That's it. That's great. Yang is still ahead of Harris even in South Carolina. I forgot to do. Let's do YouTube searches. Do they have it at that level? Ooh, it's kind of noisy data, but we are winning on YouTube searches in South Carolina. Kind of pretty close though. And then YouTube searches in New Hampshire, working our way backwards. Okay. New Hampshire, very close. See, even though we're the king of YouTube, we're not crushing it on YouTube in New Hampshire and South Carolina. We're leading, but we're not like far and away. What about Iowa YouTube? Iowa YouTube. Ooh, Buttigieg. God, that guy is going to crush. I think he has like 20 offices in Iowa, and we do not. All right. So that was the search and YouTube stuff. Ooh, weird lighting. Sorry, I'm in a hotel, and I've got this ultra bright light, like freaking spotlight. Come on, man. All right, much better. So now, so we did the polls, and we did the Google searches, and we did YouTube searches. So now we can either do the advanced analytics. It's not really that advanced. It's just not the normal ones that we usually look at. Or we could do Twitter growth, or we could do betting odds, or we could do media mentions. Anything? Just I pick. It was 538 blog charts, which are kind of semi-advanced. Twitter, betting odds, or media mentions. Okay, let's see. Wow, a lot of people asking for betting odds. We shall do betting odds. Don't worry, for those of you who have voted for the other ones, we will do it. It's just ordering. Okay, betting odds. Okay, look, here's this big surprise. Freaking Hillary Clinton, for real life, Hillary, come on, man. 2 times is not enough. Unbelievable. Not to mention like the crazy accusations about Tulsi. Like, seriously, what are you doing? At any rate, basically the gamblers on Predicted really love Warren, and about half as much as of Warren bettors are liking Biden, so you can get double your odds with Biden versus Warren. Basically 4 times your money with Biden and 2 times your money with Warren. Buttigieg is up very close to Biden, then Sanders. So Buttigieg is paying less than a bet on Sanders. And then Yang's actually not bad. Ahead of Harris and certainly ahead of Klobuchar, tied with Clinton. That's the most frustrating part. And about 50% less than Bernie. That's according to one betting odds website. Here's another betting odds website, which is the John Stossel one. And if you see on this one, in the last week, Warren suffered a little bit. Biden was up a little bit. Buttigieg was up a little bit. Sanders up a little bit. Clinton up a little bit. And then Yang down. And if you look at the chart, wow, look at this. Ooh, Warren was quite the paying really great odds, right? Oh, look at that. This is basically the debate was on the 15th. And after that debate, her stock went down big time. And whose stock went up? Freaking Biden. I guess people were expecting him to completely poop the bed after that debate. And he did remain upright. And then Buttigieg, the purpley, yeah, he's been growing, man. That's not a bad looking chart. Although Buttigieg was 15% chance of winning according to the betting odds way back in June. Remember when Buttigieg was hot stuff? And now he's at 10% chance of winning according to the betting odds. So, it just goes to show you there's a lot of volatility here. And so if you're a Yang backer like we are, yeah, he's 3% according to the betting odds now. He was as high as 5.7 back in June. So, there is definitely no one clear dominator here. I will give Biden some credit. I really thought he was just going to be on a death spiral, but he's managed to hang on. All right. So your betting odds are basically kind of similar to the polls, except that it's very strong favoritism or belief that Warren has the best chance. And those are for winning the primary. What about winning the whole darn thing? Let's see. Let's see if we can see the presidency. Yes. How do I get that chart? That's Democratic primary. I don't want that chart. Can you give me a chart for go to another chart? Yeah, US presidency. Here we go. Ew. The gamblers are predicting 41% chance that Donald Trump. God help us. God help us all. Did you guys see the letter he wrote to the president of Turkey? Let me just show you a brief intermission. Trump letter to Erdogan. I know this is all about the charts, but I got to show you guys this letter if you haven't seen it. This is an actual letter. It's not like some photoshopped joke. Like, this is really his letter. Where's the letter? Here it is. Look at this. Let me make it bigger. Okay, you got this beautiful White House stationery. And you've got, His Excellency, blah, blah, blah. And now look at this. Dear Mr. President, this is from the President of the United States, our president. Let's work out a good deal, exclamation point. You don't want to be responsible for slaughtering thousands of people, and I don't want to be responsible for destroying the Turkish economy, .. And I will. I've already given you a little sample with respect to Pastor Brunson. I have worked hard to solve some of your problems. Don't let the world down. You can make a great deal. I am confidentially enclosing a copy of his letter to me. History will look upon you favorably. It will look upon you forever as the devil if things don't happen. Don't be a tough guy. Don't be a fool. I'll call you later. This is freaking our president. This is how our president communicates with other foreign leaders. Okay, back to our originally scheduled program now that I've ranted about the poor English language skills of our current president. All right, let's go back to, we did the betting odds. Yeah, so now for some of you who might be very concerned about these betting odds, just be advised that part of it is because we don't know who the Democratic nominee is. Once we know who the nominee is, I would imagine, if you add up the probability of all the Democrats, 20, 30, 36, 40, 45, almost 50. there's a higher probability that a Democrat will be elected, right? Like it's only 41% Trump, not 51%. That said, he's our current president, and he actually still has a 40% chance despite all of the mess and just complete freaking bizarre behavior. Okay, let's not rant anymore about Trump. Okay. Oh, Andrew Graham. Okay, he says that I'm not being fair to Trump. All right, Andrew. Let's take a little. Let me just take another look at that. Trump letter to Erdogan. And I will not read it like making fun of him. And then you guys will tell me if this rendition sounds more like a president of the United States of America, the most powerful country in the world. Dear Mr. President, let's work out a good deal. You don't want to be responsible for slaughtering thousands of people, and I don't want to be responsible for destroying the Turkish economy, and I will. I've already given you a little sample with respect to Pastor Brunson. I have worked hard to solve some of your problems. Don't let the world down. You can make a great deal. Jennifer Maslam is willing to negotiate with you, and he's willing to make concessions that they would never have made in the past. I am confidentially enclosing a copy of his letter to me just received. History will look upon you favorably if you get this done the right and humane way. It will look upon you forever as the devil if good things don't happen. Don't be a tough guy. Don't be a fool. I will call you later. Sincerely, Donald J. Trump. I don't know, man. I don't know, Andrew. I still think it doesn't sound presidential. It sounds like a child, but I will admit I am very anti-Trump. Okay, let's look at data before I get too angry. All right, so we looked at we got distracted by the Erdogan thing. All right, we were looking at betting odds, so we finished the betting odds. So now we're down to the media mentions, Twitter, and some interesting kind of advanced charts. So what do you guys want? Twitter. Oh, all right, fine. Nathan Mitchell says he wants advanced. I think Nathan's been voting for advanced for a while. Okay, yeah, you got it, Nathan. Let's do it. I actually think it's the most interesting. But sometimes, you know, it's like the other stuff are like our staples. Like we just got to do it. So here is a 538. And here's one interesting analysis. Most 2020 candidates have their supporters also liking Warren. I don't know if that's true for Yang, but let's look at this chart here. Which candidate's supporters are only considering them? So this is an analysis of each candidate and what percent of their total support is exclusive. And they define exclusive as they're only considering this one candidate. So who has the biggest exclusive share of exclusive is actually Biden, which I was quite surprised by. So 1 out of 5 Biden supporters is only open, well, at least they say, to supporting Biden. Now, if you do the flip side, who has the least exclusive support? So these are the candidates that like people are like, well, yeah, I support this person, but I'm also thinking about other people. This is you could think of all kinds of analogies, but this is the opposite of the monogamous support. So that would be Steyer. Anybody who's supporting Steyer, very few are exclusively supporting him, only 1%. Followed by Booker has very little. Oh, am I sharing my screen? Hold on. Yes, I am. Okay. Followed by Booker with 2.2. down here in terms of his exclusive support. And then you've got Klobuchar. She only has 4% exclusive. Harris, 5. Castro, 5. Boo! Look at this one. Look at this one. Buttigieg only has 6% exclusive support. Yang has 7%. 7% of Yang supporters are like, hell no, I'm Yang or nothing. Now, in fairness, 11% are hell no. Oh my God, O'Rourke has people who 11% that exclusively support him. I'm shocked by that one. I'm not shocked by Gabbard having 13% exclusive. Like I could see why people are like, no, she's amazing. You know, they love her. Sanders, of course, like you've got Bernie people that are just loyal and they feel like they've been with him forever. I respect that. But I'm most surprised by Biden having so many exclusives. Maybe these are people who are like, he's the only one that can beat Trump. All these other clowns are going to lose to Trump. So that's a little surprising. And then the Beto. Seriously? Who is so exclusively in favor of Beto? Weird. Any rate, so that's interesting analysis. And then there's another chart, which is here. And this one was done October 15th and 16th. Look at this. Look at this. 52% of Tulsi Gabbard supporters are also considering Yang. Now, that's amazing in terms of our overlap. It would even be more amazing for us if she had way more support, because we're basically means we have access to half of her supporters, but she only has like 1%. So that's not really going to hook us up. Now, if you're Yang, who else can you pick off from, given that Gabbard doesn't have that much? Well, 38% of Steyer supporters are considering and open to supporting Yang, but again, he doesn't have no one. So it's sort of like someone with no money offering to give you half of their money. Castro, 24, you know, that's interesting. But when you weight it for the amount of support that they have to give, I would say, look at the top three. We got Warren, Sanders, and Buttigieg. Yeah, basically around the same from each. Harris, you know, I mean, this 52 is the best, but she has such a small base, it's almost useless. So it looks like if I had to pick off people, I think I would want to go after maybe Buttigieg supporters, because that indicates that they don't want to go for one of like the safe choices. But then, you know, it's 16% of what does he have? He has like 10% or something like that. So, I think then you've got between Warren, Biden. Actually, what's interesting is we don't really have that many Biden supporters that would consider Yang. Only 9. So Sanders may be the best for us, and Warren, probably Sanders I would take. Now, in terms of who is going to take the most from Yang, then you look at this horizontal row, and you see that 68% of Yang supporters are open to considering Warren. Okay, let me tell all of you nerds for Yang, if you're part of that 68% that are open to considering Warren, I really would encourage you to reconsider, because I believe strongly that a vote for Warren is a vote for Hillary slightly improved, which means we lose, because let me just go into a close-up for a moment. Why did we lose? Yes, because we automated away 44 million jobs in Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, all the states that Trump needed to win. Yes, I know that. But demographically, the reason we lost, poor African American turnout. We did not get the Obama style hardcore African American turnout. Hillary did not do that. Number two, Obama Trump voters, generally white working class people who used to support Obama and then decide to give Trump a chance. Now, will Warren win African American voters? No. We already know that she polls very poorly with African American voters. Yang actually, I'd have to look up the data, but Yang I think has a better chance with African Americans. Certainly, he has very strong favorability in the last YouGov poll with African Americans. And you know that Yang is polling ahead of Harris and Booker in South Carolina. So, or at least in terms of YouTube searches and web searches. I don't know about polling. Probably not polling ahead of them. But back to Warren. Can Warren get African Americans? No. I think Warren can get as many African Americans as Hillary did. Maybe less, actually, because at least Hillary had the connection to Bill. Warren, they don't know Warren. I mean, he's some Harvard law professor. And then what about the white Obama Trump voters? Working class, Midwestern white voters who got screwed by the economy. Now, you could argue like, well, maybe Warren's like the corporations are the devil kind of thing will appeal to them. But I don't know. I don't think so. I think she comes across, she will be painted as being hypocritical with the whole Native American thing. And then she will be painted as kind of politician-y, not trustworthy with the whole, whatever the controversy is about why she was fired for her job, whether it was because she was pregnant or not. I don't know. But all I know is like my mother is a hardcore Fox News watcher, and she knew every talking point about Warren. And I don't know, not that my mother's a bellwether, but she does watch a lot of Fox News. So basically, back to the data. If you are in the Yang Gang, I hope you're not part of that 68% that are considering Warren. I'm not saying it's Yang or nothing. What I am saying is let's nominate someone who can win the whole darn thing. Like we're not here to nominate some ideologically pure Democrat to lose the White House. Like we cannot afford another 4 years of Donald J. Trump. I'm not going to read that letter again, but you know, and then of course, like we don't need to read the transcript of him basically withholding $400 million in defense aid to a country that's being attacked by Russia on condition. The only way you can unlock this crucial aid is if you investigate my political opponent. Unbelievable. Whew. Okay. What else is interesting here about this data? So a lot of our guys, a lot of Yang Gang are considering Warren. They're also considering Sanders. Oh, I respect that. Although Sanders, you guys know, I had a heart attack. He's 78 years old. I love the guy, but I don't know. And then half of our gang is considering Biden. Yeah, I mean, I don't not like Biden. I just don't feel like he's the sharpest knife in the drawer. And then a third of our folks are considering Buttigieg and Harris. Very few are considering, oh, interesting. I always thought there was a lot of love for Gabbard from the Yang Gang, but only 23%. More of the Yang Gang are considering O'Rourke than Gabbard. So there goes the whole Yang equals Gabbard meme. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. And next, I will show you one more 538 chart that I thought was really cool. All right. This is about the post-debate based on the issues discussed. So, let me expandy. This is what issues they felt was the most important before and after the debate. Healthcare, economy, income inequality, climate change. Wow, where the hell is foreign policy? Jesus. Foreign policy is only 3.5, and immigrations is only 3.8. Well, that's kind of surprising. But this is the Democratic Party. So healthcare, economy, and inequality. All right. That's kind of interesting, but I think this one's more interesting. This looks like who got the best scores from voters who prioritize which issue. So the number represents the score, the row represents the candidate, and the column represents the issue. So for Warren, she scored highest on people who care about climate change, racism, sexism, and discrimination. She did worst on the economy and jobs. That makes sense. I'm not surprised by that. And then you look at Sanders. He was just strong across the board, best on climate change. Buttigieg, pretty strong across the board, not that good on racism, sexism, discrimination. That's kind of interesting. Like, he is the victim of discrimination as a gay male. But people who care deeply about that topic didn't feel like they didn't score him very high. In fact, the people that scored him the highest were the climate change people. And Biden, he had his highest around the economy and healthcare, and his weakest was wealth and income inequality. Now let's just jump to Yang. Yang scored highest for wealth and income inequality, and he did the worst also, like Buttigieg, on racism, sexism, and discrimination. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, Yang really doesn't play up the race stuff that much, to his credit. I mean, other than the self-deprecating Asian jokes, which we don't need to go into because I know everybody's tired of talking about that. Now, you would think he would have scored higher on wealth and income inequality. Like these two columns here, wealth and the economy, you would think are basically Yang's kind of like strong suit, in my opinion. And who did best on wealth and inequality? Warren. Freaking Warren. That makes you wonder. Like, Yang's the guy that's literally with his proposal eliminating poverty, because every adult will get $12,000, which is the poverty line. You would think that he would score high there. But she scored the highest. And then for economy and jobs, you would think he would also score the highest because he's going to inject $2 trillion into the economy. The biggest bottoms-up stimulus like in the history of the country. But it was actually Biden. Surprisingly, Biden did the best on the economy. Maybe they just feel like he's a steady hand. And then for climate change, wow, Warren was the best on climate change. Racism, sexism, Warren was the strongest scorer. Well, so there's that. I don't know if I agree with it, but it is what it is. Okay. Now here, let's look at who gained and lost among the voters who care about these issues. So the green is means you gained support, and the red means you lost support. So Sanders gained the most for people who care about healthcare and climate change for him. And actually, Sanders gained the most for the whole healthcare of any candidate. For people who care about healthcare, he scored, had the biggest gain. And who had the biggest loss? Ooh, Beto. Beto had the biggest loss for people who care about healthcare. For people who care about wealth and income inequality, ooh, Buttigieg. What? Buttigieg? Okay. So for people who had the strongest opinions about wealth and income inequality, who cared the most about it, Buttigieg had the biggest gain in that group. And who had the smallest gain would be Harris. Economy and jobs. Ooh, Sanders lost a lot on people who care about economy and jobs. That's interesting. Who is the biggest gainer? Freaking Warren. But then we were the second biggest gainer. Ooh, that's really nice. 4.1. See that? So there's hope, fellas. And then on climate change, the biggest gainers were Sanders, Klobuchar, and Biden. The biggest loser was Harris. I mean, Harris had a tough night. She lost for people who care about inequality, income inequality. She lost on people who care about the economy, and she lost for people who care about climate. That's a tough performance for Harris. And then Yang had the best showing for people who care about the economy and jobs, probably because he talked about the automation and loss of jobs. Ooh, Yang lost support from people who care about racism, sexism, and discrimination. That's interesting. I guess Yang needs to brush up on his talking points when it comes to those topics. And Beto had a nice gain, 5.4 out of people who care about racism, sexism, and discrimination. I think that's it for the advanced charts, folks. Whew, man, it's a long stream. It's almost an hour. Let me take a little sip. Okay, so we did the advanced stuff. Nobody wanted to do the Twitter, so that's what well, actually, we have two choices. We can do Twitter, or we can do media mentions. What do you guys want to do? Growth in Twitter followers and Twitter audience, or do you want to do media mentions? No one cares. There's 389 concurrents. Okay, fine. Mr. Bad, very cool avatar. Says he, all right. He's like, fine. Just do media mentions. All right, we'll do them. All right, let's do media mentions. Share. By the way, 389 concurrents. I think this is our most ever. That's potentially because I'm also streaming concurrently on the Nerds for Yang Facebook page, which you can all go and look for and like later. All right, so here is the G-Delt project. This is the thing that New York Times uses and 538 uses to talk about media mentions. But we all know a version of this chart, showing that like basically Biden gets a ton, then Sanders, then Warren. Wow, Harris is number 4 in media mentions in terms of like this whole year, followed by Beto and Buttigieg. And where's Yang? Oh, look at this. Yang has had almost as many media mentions on Fox News as he's had on MSNBC. But I know we kind of love to bag on MSNBC, but he has had 754, more mentions on MSNBC than CNN. But just for comparison, like he's had 754 mentions. Beto O'Rourke, how many times has MSNBC mentioned Beto O'Rourke? 4,110. Booker, MSNBC has mentioned him 3,932 times compared to what have they done for Yang? 754. So it's like a factor of 5 or 6, even though Yang is polling ahead of Booker and ahead of Beto. So thanks a lot, MSNBC. Here is over time by day. You see here we have a nice big jump for Biden mentions around, this is before the debate, around early October, that orange line. And then in terms of most recently, Biden, Warren, Sanders, Let me see if I can make this bigger for you guys. Yeah. Okay, this is on basically cable news. You've got Biden, Warren, Sanders, Gabbard. I think Gabbard's getting a lot of mentions because Clinton decided to go after her. Biden, Sanders, Gabbard, Warren. Wow, Klobuchar. Why is anybody talking about Klobuchar? But you see here consistently, see if you can find the Yang one. He's way down in the single digits in terms of daily cable news mentions. You see this BS, man? Like, look at this. On October 21st, on Monday, Warren was mentioned 244 times, Gabbard 231, Biden 207. Okay, you could say like, all right, Warren and Biden and Sanders, they're the front runners. Gabbard, we can say fine, maybe because Hillary decided to call her a Russian asset. Why is Klobuchar getting 30 mentions to Yang's 3? Why is Harris getting 10 mentions to Yang's 3? Why is Beto getting 9 to Yang's 3? Why the frick is Castro getting 6 mentions? Bullshit. And then on October 22nd, you're like, well, you can't just cherry pick one day, Tom. Let's look at some more data. No, I'll look at more data. I will. Fine. Let's look at 1022. Yang 3 mentions. Only one more than freaking Bullock. Seriously? 2 more than Inslee. Inslee's out of the race, people. And how many times did they mention Klobuchar? 49. Buttigieg, 44. Castro, who we're polling ahead of, 19. O'Rourke, who we're polling ahead of, 9. Booker, who we're polling ahead of, 9. And they gave us 3 mentions. Freaking jerks. 1023, another day. Yang, 1. The same as Inslee, the guy who dropped out. Half as much as Castro, the guy he's polling ahead of. Half as much as Klobuchar, the woman he's polling ahead of. Ah, God. Booker, he's polling ahead of Booker. Freaking Booker gets so many media mentions. It's disgusting. Like, he's like part of the media establishment. He should just get a job at MSNBC and become like one of those commentators. Freaking Booker. All right. Now, if you look at online news, we do a little better. So here now you've got at least like order of magnitude away, so 300 mentions for us, more than Booker. Thank you, online news. On 1024. And then on 1023, Yang had 213, almost as much as Booker. Well, still less than O'Rourke. Harris, okay, she's pulling ahead of us. But Klobuchar, 274. So online news is not quite as disgusting as cable news, but it's still basically disproportionately punishing us. Yeah, so that's it for the media mentions. And now let's go to Twitter. I'll do this fast because I know no one cares about Twitter. But basically, if you look at us, Buttigieg, Harris, we're closing on Buttigieg actually on Twitter. You see how big this gap used to be? It keeps getting smaller between the red and the blue. And then in terms of daily additions, let's see here. On October 23rd, we added 2.4K. We added more than the other two. On October 22nd, we added more than the other two. On October 21st, we added more than the other two. On October 20th, we added more than the other two. So basically, we're growing faster on Twitter than Harris and Buttigieg. But, unfortunately, Twitter doesn't determine who gets the presidency. Whew, 59 minutes, guys. All right. Here's the last thing I'll share with you guys. We have to give Yang more money because the freaking media is not covering him. Yeah, online news a little better than cable. Freaking cable. Oh, wait a minute. I think I had like regular news too. Where's the regular news? Oh, yes. Yes. Okay, let me quickly. I just found one little more data. One last thing. Bear with me, folks. Okay, here we go. This is ABC, NBC, CBS. So this is like the most conventional wisdom news of all. You see here, they love to cover, let's just fast forward to October, say 15th. Biden got 12 mentions, Sanders 2, and then no one else, which goes to show you it's, they're not covering a long time, right? They just have their little morning news, evening news. On October 16th, Biden, Sanders, Warren, friggin' Klobuchar, no Yang. October 17th, Warren, Biden, Sanders, Klobuchar. Like, enough with Klobuchar, guys. Anyway, no Yang. October 18th, this is like the big time ABC, CBS, NBC, where I think a lot of older people are watching. You got Biden, Gabbard, and that's it. No Yang. October 19th, Gabbard, Biden. I was kidding to myself about this the other day. I was thinking, like, man, I wish Hillary had called Yang a Russian agent, but I don't know. Maybe that would be bad publicity, but we would definitely have gotten more mentions than this shit. October 21st, Sanders, Warren, Gabbard, O'Rourke, Booker, no Yang. Like, if you thought we were getting blacked out by MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC are totally screwing us. Like, but in fairness, they're not. They basically are covering it as if it's like a 3 or 4 person race. Okay, let's do some quick Q&A and then we'll wrap it up. If you have questions for me about the Yang interview or future videos or my thoughts on the campaign or other candidates or whatever, I'm happy to try and share my 2 cents. Let's see. Or we can just wrap up and call it a night because my coffee cup's almost empty. Anthony Gamboni says, screw Dems. Well, we need the Dems to replace the president. What do you think about PAC money? Honestly, I don't love it, but I'll take it. After looking at those media mentions and looking at these polls, like maybe when Yang is president, we'll have democracy dollars, but until then, you got to play the game as it's written. Okay, let's see. What do you think are the odds of Yang actually winning a primary? From PogChamp. Personally, I think they're slim for Iowa, but if he has even a number 4 showing in Iowa or even number 5 in Iowa, that would be a win for us. Honestly, 5 or better would be a win in Iowa. In New Hampshire, if he had 5, ideally 4 or better. South Carolina, 4 or better. Nevada, 4 or better. Basically, 5 in Iowa and 4 or better in anywhere else. I think we would have a good showing. In terms of what I actually think the odds are, I think maybe 1 in 4, 1 in 5, which, like if you're betting on who's going to become president, like that's not bad. Those aren't bad odds. Let's see. Nerds, can you address the bad article like snake oil salesman, blah, blah? I don't know about that one. Like, you're saying that there's negative articles about Yang. Frankly, I'm not worried if there's negative articles. I'm worried if there's no articles. Mike, good night, nerds. Yes, it is getting late. Do you genuinely think Yang can win? I do. I think he can win. But I do think it's going to be a long shot and it's going to require the stars to align. However, you could argue Trump was not expected to win either, and the stars really aligned for him. And had that election happened one day before or one day after, I don't think he would have won. So for us, if we get the nomination, we will win the White House. I'm very confident of that. the question is, can we unseat Warren and Biden? And God help us, if Buttigieg becomes like the surprise candidate, he'll be tough to beat because people, they're only going to pick one kind of young, non-traditional candidate. And if he seizes that mantle, it'll be hard for us. How much will Yang's polling numbers improve after his ad campaign gets ramped up? Now, that's an interesting question because Tom Steyer, his numbers in some states, in the early states, are comparable to Yang's. And who the hell is Tom Steyer, right? He's the billionaire hedge fund manager, but that's pretty much all we know about him. He did not look very strong in the debates. Now, he spent $50 million, so we're not going to do that. But if we spent, if we just spent the $10 million that we had, or I guess like we have $6 million in the bank, if we spent $5 million this quarter on ads, well, we probably couldn't because we have the on the ground game. But if we spent a few million on ads, I bet we would easily be over 5% in the early states. And that would then, the goal would be like that sends snowballs, and you're like over 5%, then more and more people think you're credible, and then you go to 10%, and success begets success. What is on your shirt? These are YouTubers. Ethan from H3H3 and Gila. Ethan is actually in the Yang Gang, as it seems at least. Could you imagine a world where the future Republican Party nearly mirrors Yang's policies to fight against Sanders? I could not imagine Trump doing that because I think it's way too innovative of a policy, UBI. And it also needs to be financed by a tax, which we know that Trump does not like taxes at all, unless it's on the middle class and poor people. So I don't think Trump would do it, but could the next Republican candidate with a libertarian kind of bent embrace UBI? I'll tell you one thing. I was with a bunch of Republicans over last weekend, and like big time kind of finance types who are hardcore Republicans, and they all kind of agreed after a long dinner that Yang's policies actually make the most sense economically given the way the world is evolving, and they were particularly convinced that VAT and UBI are very rational, but I don't think Trump would do that. He's more of a kind of emotional Republican. No, I don't think holograms would. I think he would just look kind of like a, gimmicky. Doesn't he need 15% in Iowa? Well, I don't know. I mean, I would take it. But if you mean doesn't he need 15% to be like top 3 or 4? Yeah, probably. But what I've heard is that Iowa is a state where the actual caucus outcome can be dramatically different than what's expected. So there's often these like surprise outcomes in Iowa. Like if you remember in the Republican primaries a few cycles ago, like Huckabee won Iowa, and everybody was like shocked. Obama won Iowa, and this was the first primary or caucus in this case, and no one expected that to happen. Why does he do well in North Carolina but not South Carolina? I think North Carolina has more wealthy people and probably, I think, might have more college educated, and he does well with 100K people who earn 100K or more. He also does well with Hispanics, and I don't know if there's more Hispanics in North Carolina and South Carolina. Lately, he's been starting to improve with African Americans, so I think we have a good shot in South Carolina, although it's clearly not showing up in the polls. No Kanye. Kanye's nuts. Will Tad Devine help much? I don't even know who he is. Let's see. The stars are aligning. I hope you're right, Catch. I really do. I mean, we're all here, right? There's 400 concurrents right now. So thank you guys all. Don't forget to like this video. Let's see. The internet is the new grassroots. Well, I mean, there is a chance that these polls are just completely off, and a year from now they're going to talk about how the polls didn't reflect the future of voting and yada yada. Let's see. Ethan's ride or die. Oh, is that right? Well, here's the funny thing. I owned this Ethan t-shirt even before he supported Yang, just because I think he's interesting. What are Yang's policies? Communist? No. Yang's policies, if anything, if you ask me, they're libertarian, because they basically say, let's give the money to the people. Let's not have it tied up in massive government federal bureaucracies. It's one of those, UBI is one of those policies that attracts both Republicans and progressives, which is amazing. Trump cut payroll taxes for the middle class also. Yeah, he did. But if you look at the dollar value that the dollar benefits of the Trump tax cuts, most of the benefits went to the richest people. And if you look at the freedom dividend, most of the benefits will go to the poor and middle class. The rich will get their freedom dividend too, but there's not that many of them. So in terms of aggregates, the freedom dividend is way more progressive. All right. Did you see who Yang just hired? Yeah, I think I read a headline that it was like that a guy that had some questionable background. I don't know if he really hired him or his background's really questionable. But, you know, that campaign is growing. I think they have like over 100 staff now. So there's going to be some people in there. Shout out to H3H3, Papa Bless. I'm trying. Hey, if any of you guys are H3H3 fans, I'm trying to interview Keela on Nerds for Yang. Please tell her to join. I've asked her on Twitter, but she didn't reply. Yang hired Bernie's old ad guy. What do you think? I don't know. I'm just happy he hired an ad guy. Like, we need those ads. Like the podcast stuff is great, and we should keep doing that. But that's not. We've kind of reached a plateau with that stuff. What's Yang's feelings on the border wall? I don't think he thinks that that's like the top priority, but I do know that he does feel like we need to have legal immigration and immigration reform, especially if every citizen is getting $1,000 a month. We're going to have some controls on immigration. Let's see. I think we have got to all of the questions. So, folks, thank you so much for joining. If you have friends who like math, please tell them to subscribe to Nerds for Yang. Please like this video, share it out. And this weekend, I will edit the Andrew Yang interview that I did with him. And thank you to everybody who donated to the Yang campaign through the Nerds for Yang link, because without you guys, we wouldn't have raised the $20K that helped us get them back. In total, the Nerds for Yang Nation has raised almost $35K for Andrew. And so I told him that. He was quite surprised. I was like, yeah, bro, at this rate, you may not need to go do your fancy fundraisers anymore. You just hang out with the nerds and we go look at charts together. So I think we had a good interview. I hope you guys enjoy it. And I will see you guys in a few days when I publish the Yang interview. And I might do some other stuff if I have time in the interim. Good night, folks. Keep it real.